But anyways, we are going to be checking out The Fat Electrician. He is talking about the greatest invention of the 20th century. So I'm sorry, Europe. I'm. This is probably about AC, and I think it's mainly. There's only a couple. I know Renya, like it's hot, but not as bad. Sense of like outlawing AC and stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure this is about AC, about air conditioning, and I'm sure Nick is going to go on a rant and go off. So, well, let's see what's let's see. I also love the shirt. Overkill's underrated.
I'm gonna come out and say it. The Europeans are apparently making window cheese, and you're gonna have to stick around if you want to know what that means. Today we're
I know he's going to explain why, but still. And again, I'm pretty sure it's primarily because it's like Germany, France, and the UK really don't like AC. I don't hear about it anywhere else. Just those three. Same.
talking about the most important invention of the 20th century, air conditioning. Can't know what you're thinking. That's a pretty big claim. We came up with a lot of important stuff in the 20th century. That is true. However, air conditioning is the most important one. I'm gonna prove it, and then I'm gonna relentlessly talk smack about Europeans the entire time, right after word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Supremacy World War III. It is a free-to-play online PvP military-based strategy game. The entire thing's based on a World War III type scenario where you get to pick your country and go to war with the rest of the world. You can forge alliances, or you can just go solo and try to take over the whole thing yourself. They've just introduced a new shadow market, which is basically the black market where you can do a bunch of sketchy, illegal stuff under the table that's going to upset people if they find out. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it's going to upset people. That's literally a function of the game. If you get caught, it can actually cause insurgencies, civil unrest, or damage the morale of your country.
That's
unpopular opinion, they should probably update it so it increases the morale of the American military if they get caught, because their unofficial motto is, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. I mean, it's never a war crime the first time. So if you want to give it a try, you can play with up to 99 other people, and it's available on both PC and mobile, and it's free. So if you want to check it out, I'm gonna have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, why are we even talking about air conditioning right now, okay? If you're not chronically on the internet like myself, A, good for you, but B, let me fill you in real quick.
Yeah, or like me, who's, I've been better about it. I've been trying not to be so online. I mean, that's my job, but still I'm trying not to be super online so I can kind of like cut myself off a little bit. I'm still trying to grow and do things, but I'm also like trying to take breathers and breaks from it, because it's sometimes there are days that I'm just like, why am I even, never mind, you know, it's bad.
Every June or July, there's a magical time of year where the British experience a heat wave. There's newspaper articles, there's British and European people getting on the internet talking shit about how the Americans just don't understand a British heat wave. We couldn't possibly survive, yada, yada, yada. So then I get on there, I'm competitive, they're talking smack. It's like, okay, I mean, how hot is it over there? Never been there. Maybe it is super hot. I have no idea. So then you look into it, and all the headlines are like, the British heat wave has reached over 30 degrees Celsius for the 5th day in a row.
Yeah, all you have to do to convert is ×2, add 32, and join the rest of the human race.
Okay, my country's flag is on the moon. I have no idea what 30 degrees Celsius is, so then you gotta get on Google again, you gotta ask it what 30 degrees Celsius is, converted into Fahrenheit, the superior way of measuring temperature. It's like 86 degrees, and these people are acting like they're melting. Buh! Actually, Celsius is better.
Oh, and here comes the keyboard warrior, Nick. Oh no. All right, Nick, weigh in on it.
Because it's a metric system, you know, that measurement system the entire world uses except for you guys. It's obviously the best. But no, it isn't. It doesn't even make sense. Okay, Fahrenheit is the easiest concept on the planet. 0 is...
I'm also going to state this. Most of the world, yes, uses the metric system until you get to certain things like the British and the Irish don't use kilometers, they use miles per hour. Same with Canada. Canada uses miles per hour. Like there's certain things that they use, but then there's other things like temperature or like basic measurements, stuff like that. It gets confusing. Like, just pick one and stick with it, and then we'll just deal with everything after that.
It's cold, 100 is hot, based on the human experience, the end. Celsius, on the other hand, is based on the freezing and boiling point of water, which doesn't even make sense because the freezing and boiling point of water isn't a constant. It depends on like 20 other variables, including altitude. Okay, when somebody asks you, how hot is it outside? Nobody's asking you, how does a glass of water at sea level feel about the temperature outside? No, I'm asking you, are my balls gonna be sweaty if I go outside? Do I need to wear shorts? Do I need to bring baby powder? Is monkey butt a potential hazard? These are the questions I want to know. I don't give a fuck how water feels about it.
So, it will also state that. That's the funny part because, yeah, living at a higher altitude, water boils at a lower temperature at a higher altitude because there's less oxygen for the water to boil. Oxygen evaporates quicker. It dissipates. I shouldn't say evaporates. Dissipates quicker. So, to boil faster. How it is, but at lower sea levels, it boils at what you expect it. So, like the baseline for it is like at sea level. What does water boil at? Like, and in Celsius, it's 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. But at like a higher altitude, it might be 95 degrees instead of 100. There's variables to everything, so you know, it is what it is.
Oh gosh, it's just too much.
I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. Anyways, this happens every year. The Europeans get on the internet, they complain about a heat wave, 86 degrees, they pretend like they're melting, they say the Americans don't understand, we couldn't possibly survive a British heat wave, yada yada yada. Well, this year, something amazing happened. The FIFA World Cup is in America, so a bunch of Europeans came to America and they got to experience American heat, and it became overwhelmingly obvious to them they are in fact just being giant pansy asses about the entire situation. At which point the Europeans realized that they
By the way, that was funny seeing a lot. Like, it was awesome because a lot of people got to come over and check out America, and they're like, "Oh wow, actually, you guys are pretty cool." Yeah, we're trying to be. We're assholes, but we try to be. But the funniest part is like all the teams are like, "Oh yeah, we're used to the heat." They got here like, "Oh no!" Like Brazil. Well, Brazil's like, this is nothing." You should feel our summers. Yeah, we know Brazil. You guys are just, you're like us. Your seasons are all over the place, and your heat is all over the place.
were wrong, they admitted defeat, and we all moved on. I'm just kidding. The Europeans pivoted, they moved the goalposts, and then the entire conversation became about air conditioning. Okay, I had no idea because I'm an American, and to be honest with you, I don't give a fuck about European politics, but apparently the British and the French are like morally and mentally just adamantly opposed to air conditioning, to the point that it is literally a humongous political debate over there right now, and the right wing and the left wing over in France is literally divided on air conditioning. Air conditioning in France is right-wing technology. I'm not exaggerating. And me, with how my brain works, now I have to know the history of air conditioning. So, from the top. The first modern air conditioner was invented in 1902 by an engineer by the name of Willis Carrier, and Willis Carrier was hired by a publishing company to come in and solve a problem. The problem this publishing company had was that when they were trying to print things in summer, the heat and humidity was causing fluctuations in the paper and the printing process, giving them an inconsistent product that they weren't happy with. So he gets hired to come in and figure out.
That's, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, because you got a lot of heat. The printing press is pressing out newspapers. Like if you're looking at like newspapers or books or anything like that, let's just go newspapers because it's a common thing for that time period. A very common thing for that time period. It could warp paper. It could shrink it. It could expand it. It could smudge the ink. It could it could dry the ink fast, so it's not printing and like you're not getting the right amount of like ink, and things are faded right when they go on. Yeah, I could see why that's an issue.
A way to make their product more consistent while they're printing in summer. And his first option is, obviously, I'm just going to change the environment. I'm going to make it a constant. I'm going to get rid of the heat and the humidity so it's no longer a factor. Then we can tune the machines once and we can print away because it's always going to be the same temp and the same humidity in the factory. Okay, pause. I need you to understand, as a person in 2026 that's grown up with like modern technology, this sounds obvious, like duh.
Yeah.
just do that. But at the time in 1902, Homeboy literally came out of left field and is like, clearly, I just have to change the rules of physics. I have to change the entire world around me so this works. I'm literally gonna attempt to domesticate the fucking wind so I can print books. Okay, do you understand how insane that is? That would be if like the Wright brothers.
Okay, so it was a book printing press. So again, it's one of those, like, again, thinking about certain things going, how do we do this? God, was that dual? I don't know. We'll find out.
When they were trying to design an airplane, were like, fucking, we'll just turn off gravity. Duh.
It's science.
But somehow, this guy manages to do it, fixes the printing problem, sees the potential, patents the idea, patents the phrase air conditioning, and then he goes and creates the Carrier Air Conditioning Company, which is still around today, has like over 50,000 employees, and is worth over $20 billion. So air conditioning is like primarily used in these factory type settings. In 1914, there are some people starting to get air conditioners in their homes, but it's extremely rare. By the early 1930s, they are starting to have like commercial air conditioning units that you can put in a home, but they cost like $10,000, which in 1932, convert that to today's money, it's almost like $250,000 for a window air conditioning unit. But people were willing to pay it because if you got the money,
yeah,
not
back
having
then
sweat is priceless.
Hell yeah.
Oddly enough, you can make the argument that air conditioning is actually responsible for movies, TV, and Hollywood as a whole. Because outside of manufacturing, one of the first industries to adopt air conditioning is movie theaters, which makes so much sense because I cannot tell you how many times I've been shown like, oh, this is a silent film from 19 whatever the fuck, and oh, it was so funny at the time, blah, 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 blah. Nobody was going to movie theaters in the 1920s, the 1930s, the 1940s because they enjoyed watching silent films. They were going because that was the only place they could go to get air conditioning and get out of the heat for 2 hours.
Yeah, well, and not to mention, well, no, because we don't get newsreels until 1930, which is also where you would go and get video newsreels of what's going on in the affairs of, you know, America, like all across the nation and of course the world, because it was huge for World War II. But yeah, that makes sense because like 1920s, and depending on where you were, like the major city you were in the 1920s, atrocious. So yeah, you'd be going to a movie theater. I'm gonna go watch this movie, not because I want to watch this movie, because I want to stay cool. They have this really cool thing that keeps me cool.
You can actually go back and read accounts from people at the time where they're like, yeah, no, we don't go to the movie theater because we give a shit about the movie. We just go so we can go there to cool off. So in a way, it's pretty likely, or at least you could argue that if it wasn't for air conditioning, the film industry as we know it today might not exist.
Also, I will also state, it's even true today. Like there's times that I'll go see a movie to go see a movie, but there's times that's like, it's really hot outside. And if I go and see this movie, I don't care. Like, it looks like a dumb action flick. It might be a good, like, 2 hours waste of time just to turn off my brain and watch a dumb action flick, but I don't have to worry about the heat. Nice and cool. And I get out, I get in there, and then I'm like, man, I'm freezing my balls off. But it feels so good. And then you go outside, and you're like, ugh.
Regardless, movie theaters were a lot of people's first encounter with air conditioning, and once they saw it, they're like, holy shit, this is awesome. I want to get it inside my house. But from here, the cost of air conditioners actually plummets because it's something that everybody can use and everybody wants. It's just like TVs. When I was a kid growing up, a flat screen TV was like $12,000. It was some absurd amount of money. And today, I can go to Walmart and buy a 70-inch flat screen TV that's better than those TVs when I was growing up for like $400. So air conditioning got incredible.
Yeah, that's how technology moves, and that's minus like the price of RAM and GPUs right now. But that's because they're going to court right now because Nvidia, was it Nvidia, Samsung, and who else? The main manufacturers of like RAM are going to court because they've been found not even like not producing, like they can produce more RAM if they chose to, but they've been purposely jacking up the prices. Don't get me wrong, the rise of AI has increased it, so that was going to be an inevitable increase, but they've increased it even more by essentially going, oh well, it's costing us this much to produce it now, and it's not because their cost has gone up, but not as much as they state it's been.
Incredibly cheap, incredibly
Weird how
fast
that
when you
works.
compare it to pretty much anything else. And by the 1950s, they were starting to have literal experiments that they would call air-conditioned villages. Basically, they were new housing developments where all these new homes had air conditioning in them, and they actually had psychologists and scientists go in, and the families that bought these homes volunteered to be studied for over a year to see the impacts of living in
This house. Sorry, I'm just thinking about that because it's the 1950s, and that's when this was built. Oh, we got cheated.
in an air-conditioned climate in your home and how it would affect you. People had no idea what would happen. Would they go crazy? Would they not be able to handle going outside anymore? These were all huge unknowns at the time. And you want to know what the psychologists and the scientists concluded about living in air conditioning? It's pretty fucking awesome, okay? They found out that everybody slept better, and they also found out that the housewives were reporting back to the psychologists that their husbands, and I quote, had a better disposition, aka their husbands weren't as fucking grumpy all the time. You can literally go back and read the articles. We'll read one right now. Headline, air conditioning helps with disposition. Women living in air-conditioned homes in Austin, Texas, the air-conditioned village, startled a team of psychologists and researchers by asserting their husbands' dispositions had somehow miraculously improved under the influence of air conditioning. Okay, when you're not hot, you're not grumpy. Fucking shocking, I know. Oddly enough, statistical data collected by these researchers indicated that indoor conditions within these homes could be conducive to support this opinion of these air-conditioned housewives. Reading newspapers from the 50s is crazy because it's just like, well, the housewives are saying their husbands are in the better mood, but them bitches are crazy. We can't trust them. We need empirical data to prove their opinion might be correct.
Beautiful. I know.
But even more strongly indicated is the likely possibility that the women themselves, as a result of enjoying the comforts of air conditioning, were able to look upon their spouses with a little more than usual benevolence.
I love that the 1950s were like, yeah, well, we don't care about it. The women are saying this, but it's probably because the men are in a better disposition because the women aren't so cranky being at home all day. Because they're nice and cool. So now they're not bitching at their husbands anymore. Man, that was those are some times. Granted, there's a lot of closet gay men, closet gay women too during that too. But we're not going to get into that. That's a different entire thing. This is about air conditioning.
Okay, translation, mom and dad are both in a better mood because nobody's sweating their ass off all day, obviously. Okay, just so we're all on the same page, if you're not picking up on it put down so far, air conditioning might be responsible for the entire film industry, TV as we know it today. It helps keep families together, and that's just scratching the surface on why it's the most important invention of the 20th century. Just to prove my point, let's have a thought exercise. I asked Google, completely blind. I had some guesses because I know a little bit about history, but I just went in blind and asked Google, what are the most important inventions of the 20th century? Let's see what they came up with. Coming in at number 1, we have the transistor, obviously extremely important, but the mass manufacturing of transistors isn't possible without air conditioning because in order to manufacture a transistor, you need purified air, humidity control, and temperature control, all of which are provided by air conditioning. So, no air conditioning, no mass manufacturing of transistors. One more point. Coming in at number 2, the internet, okay? Internet also can't exist without AC because the internet is run off of a bunch of server farms, which also need to be in a climate-controlled environment. You ever been inside of a server room? Pretty cold, pretty pure.
Yeah, server rooms can be pretty fucking. Like, you walk in there and you're like, yeah, I need a coat. And then you walk out and you're like, oh, I'm burning up.
Purified air, can't have it without air conditioning. Coming in at number 3, penicillin, obviously incredibly important. The world's first antibiotic, saved tens if not hundreds of millions of lives since it was invented. And you know what? Would it exist without air conditioning? Almost certainly. However, would you be able to mass manufacture it to the degree that we do today as safely as we do without air conditioning? Absolutely not. Number 4, mass production of automobiles. Could that exist without air conditioning? Yes, it could. However, if you look at where most cars are manufactured, Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, Mexico, none of those places would be able to crank out cars to the degree that they do without air conditioning because you would have workers.
Yeah, most of it would have been in the northern part of the states. So like Chicago, because that's where Motor City was originally. It was Chicago, but Chicago, Minnesota, North Dakota, like those areas would probably be it because they are a lot more climate friendly for mass production of high labor. Nowadays, I mean, yes, a lot of machines are used, but you still have a lot of human interaction with those to help get everything. And it's kind of warm in those facilities, even with AC on. It's kind of warm in those.
Dropping out from heat stroke. In fact, most of the major cities in America that are in a hotter climate, like, I don't know, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Orlando, Atlanta, all of which would probably exist to some degree if it wasn't for air conditioning, but air conditioning allowed them to grow into major metropolitan areas.
I will state Phoenix and Arizona are two areas, or Phoenix and Las Vegas are kind of two funny areas that even if you don't pay your utilities, they're not allowed to shut off your power because your powers are AC during the summer months. Well, like I think in Arizona it's like 9 months of the year they're not allowed to. So during the winter, yeah, you don't get power if you don't pay. During the summer, you get to keep your power. You're just adding on charges because the power company doesn't want to shut off people's power, and people die from heat stroke, and now it's on them because they let people die from heat stroke. Kind of funny how that works.
It's literally a saying, air conditioning made Phoenix possible. And last but not least, the airplane. Now, would the Wright brothers have strapped some wings to a bicycle, drove it off a cliff, and figured out how to fly? Absolutely. Is commercial flight without air conditioning as we know it today possible? Absolutely not. The inside of that cabin on that plane would be 400 degrees if it wasn't for air conditioning. So yes.
Not to mention air conditioning is, as he states, air conditioning is a climate control. So not only does it keep the airplane cool, also pressurizes the cabin so that when you take off and you get up into that altitude, your ears, yeah, they pop, but you're not dealing with lack of oxygen, lack of cooling, a huge weird like atmospheric change, because most planes, when you're flying, you're 30,000 feet above sea level, which, by the way, if you don't have oxygen on you, you're gonna pass out pretty quickly because there's like nothing up there. There's oxygen, not a lot, and you have 200 people on a plane all breathing the same air, and it's not being circulated or anything, and controlled. People are gonna pass out from carbon dioxide, not monoxide, carbon dioxide. People are going to pass out from the heat. People are just going to pass out because there's just not enough oxygen in the cabin. So, yeah, air conditioning isn't just keeping your house cool; it's a full climate control and compression, circulating air.
Air conditioning is the most important invention of the 20th century. Which raises a question, why the fuck don't the Europeans just use it?
Right. What did he say?
Said it has his edge, huh? He only talked about
Movie's
it.
so good.
And the answers to that question might be the most infuriating answers to a question I've ever gotten in my entire life. Answer number one. Europeans don't need air conditioning because the climate isn't as hot as America. Now, setting aside the fact that that proves the initial point that America is hotter and we could survive a British heat wave, we'll just set that off to the side real quick. The Europeans say shit like, well, we wouldn't run them that often and we would only need them for like 1 month a year. Cool. Do you know how much shit I own that I don't need very often? I've had a spare tire in every car I've ever owned my entire life. I've never had to use it. I've still fucking got it just in case. If there was owned my entire life, I've never had to use.
Neither did Zach. Underwhelming podcast reference, Mr. Editor, 15-minute into episode 38. Okay.
use it, I've still fucking got it just in case. If there was something that I only needed to use 30 days a year to make sure my balls weren't hot while I was trying to sleep, you best believe I'm gonna fucking own it. Oh, well, Europeans are tougher than you Americans. We'll just grit our teeth and bear it. Are you? Are you really? Because last I checked, 175,000 fucking people died from heat stroke because you're too fucking stupid to buy an air conditioner.
Now, I think that's 100. I remember looking at this. I don't think it's 175,000 last year. I think it's 175,000 total. Like, I'm going to get Nick on this one. I think it's 175,000 total between 2021, 2020. No, 22, 23, 24. No, 23, 24, 25 was like 175,000. And that was between France, the UK, and like Germany, and their tolling deaths of those three were 175,000 over 3 years. But those are the ones that they focused on because they've noticed that the deaths kept increasing over years.
Do you understand how insane that is? If there was any other event on the planet that killed 175,000 people, there would be memorials and statues commemorating what a tragedy this was. But because it's just you guys being like, well, the Americans invented a machine that can domesticate wind, but we don't want to admit they're right, so we would rather let all our young and elderly die of heat stroke than give them the W. What are you doing? Okay, which leads right into the next argument, the most infuriating one because I used to build shit for a living. Americans don't understand because our homes are actually built to retain heat, so an air conditioner wouldn't work as well for us. Motherfucker, that's just insulation. That's how insulation works, okay? Do you?
I was about to say, I'm like, wait, excuse me? That's just... Oh, homes work. You want to keep the heat in during the winters, and you want to keep the cold air in during the summers. How insulation works. That, okay.
You have a thermos. If you put hot tea or whatever stupid shit you guys drink in a thermos, you know how it stays hot? Now dump it out and put fucking ice water in it. The ice water stays cold, okay? Your house isn't specifically designed to be hot inside. It's designed to have a controlled temperature regardless of what's going on outside. So if you buy an air conditioner and you cool off the house, it stays fucking cool. Well, air conditioning's really expensive. No, it isn't. You can buy a window unit for $169 to cool off the room that you sleep in, or your living room, or whatever, okay? The average minimum wage of Europe is $8.33 American. That's 20 hours of the most unskilled labor that you have available in exchange for a magic box that domesticates the fucking wind so you don't have to sweat your balls off. Okay, that is a modern miracle, and you're
Nick's going on a rant. Oh, here we go.
Saying that that's too expensive. I would pay an outrageous amount of money to see a British person go back in time and talk to one of their ancestors, some medieval peasant picking turnips outside of a castle, and explain to them that in the future, there's a magical box that can make the house cold when it's hot outside. And in exchange for that, all they had to do was work 20 hours and they could cool off their house for years upon years to come, and then explain to them with deadpan stare, but I don't do it because it's expensive.
Are you pulling my leg?
Motherfucker, it's literally magic to these people. You have the opportunity to buy climate changing magic for 20 hours of your time, and you're just like, nah, I'd rather let grandma and grandpa die from heat stroke. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm slowly coming around to the idea that this is actually a conspiracy by the European governments to slowly kill off old people so they don't break their universal healthcare system. There's no other logical explanation for why you would be anti-air conditioning. And apparently one of the big talking points is, oh, well, air conditioning is actually bad for climate change, so it's only making the problem worse. And then the climate activists get on CNN or the BBC or whatever, and they're giving interviews offering alternatives to air conditioning that you could do. I'm gonna show you, because if I didn't show you the interview.
Okay, before he gets into this is probably where the yogurt thing comes into play. So be ready to be disgusted, because dairy products and heat don't go together very well. AC is responsible for the meteor killing dinosaurs. What's up, Dicey? How are you doing? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because of AC, the dinosaurs got wiped out because it summoned a meteor. AC is Sephiroth. Oh God. I just made a video. Air conditioning is Sephiroth because Sephiroth summons a meteor to wipe out the planet. How's it going, Daishi? Hopefully you're doing well. Oh no. Oh no.
You wouldn't believe me. Their solutions get progressively worse, but we're gonna go ahead and start off with their best solution. Solution number one.
If it gets really hot, I sleep under a wet sheet. That's my other technique.
No. No. Under a wet sheet? No. Oh, that's just, you're just asking for like mildew and and that's damp and then it's heavy. Oh, 3 steps later, Israel for some reason. Yeah, exactly.
How about no?
With a big bucket of water under the desk with my feet in the bucket of water.
Option number two, soak your feet in a bucket of water while you're sitting at home all day long. Also, no. B, I know your house fucking stinks. It smells like wet feet and BO because you're not wearing deodorant and you don't have air conditioning, and I know you're sitting in the house sweating your ass off 24/7. No, I'm not doing it.
That right there. Nope. Like, it's not like, even if you don't have air conditioning, if you can get like a fan, and yeah, the fan just pushes around air. Fine, cool. Get a fan. You don't even do it like a spritzer or anything like to kind of cool yourself off. What you do is you turn on your fan and you go and you wet a towel and you throw in the freezer. You kind of form it to your neck and throw in the freezer for a little bit, and then you just put it around your neck as the wind blows. And as that fan hits the frozen towel, it cools your neck, which cools down your body, and it's a great way of doing it. That's a very cheap and ineffective way, or effective way of keeping yourself cool. Does it keep your house cool? No, but it's at least keeping you cool, so you can be like, okay, or buy AC and join the dark side. Yeah, exactly. Just buy AC and you'll be fine. Because my house, we have a swamp cooler, but I also have an air blowing fan that I use as a tech, and this thing's kind of strong. Like, if you guys ever hear when I'm streaming during the summers, it's because I have the fan on, and I keep it at low because I don't need to turn it on high. I turn it on low, and I like, all it is turning it on, and I'm like, cool. When I was in a shop, I cranked that sucker to that high, and I'd be like, I'd walk in front of it. I'm like, oh, it's so good. And then I'd be back to working on cars. But I'd also be cool because I just be in front of it a lot of the time, and it'd just be blasting me with air. And it's not hot air because it's cycling out the air and giving me cooler air. So it was kind of nice, you know? I don't know. It's funny how you can have like certain things. I will state that fan is kind of expensive, but of course, mechanics a lot more expensive. By expensive, I mean that was like $400. But it's a personal AC unit, essentially. It's stupid. I love it.
Option number three, I can't believe this is real.
Including, would you believe it, painting windows with yogurt.
I knew this was coming, but what? What?
Can't believe this is real.
Including, would you believe it, painting windows with yogurt.
The only thing I have on my head is my headset. I'm not throwing that down because it's expensive. But I feel Nick there. I really do. Yeah, they do. It's kind of ridiculous how it does. And again, he mentions 175, and I think that's between 3 years. But I mean, 175,000 over 3 years is still a lot of deaths. That's worse than our gun deaths. No one's ever going to actually explain it, and I can actually go ahead and state this. About 85% of our gun deaths are self-inflicted. It's like roughly around 30,000, and like 85% of that is self-inflicted. Meaning most people are game ending themselves. In fact, your rifle deaths are less than 1,000 a year. Again, that's still a lot of deaths, but still, there's more people saying good night and ending and just turning off the video game than anything else, and they're still getting trounced by people going, "Oh man, it's really hot out." Huh, weird. But still, yogurt on sorry, I'm thinking about oh, that's making me go, Nick. Go on.
How are you this
Takes true dedication. It does. Or, you know, it really does. Or you're just Kurt Cobain. There's a Courtney Love joke there, but she's very much alive and litigious. So we'll just leave it at that.
Your solution, rather than just admitting the Americans are onto something with this air conditioning shit, is to smear yogurt on your fucking windows. You want to make window cheese rather than just turn on an air conditioner. How do you not see how fucking insane that sounds? Like, one of your biggest talking points is air conditioning is expensive. How expensive is it to smear a new layer of yogurt on all the windows on your house and then have your house smell like curdled milk and still be hot as shit? I can't even begin to fathom the amount of desperation and misery the person that figured this out was experiencing. Do you know how fucking hot and sweaty and delirious you have to be sitting at home in your living room on the couch for you to finally go, I gotta do something. I'm gonna try smearing yogurt on my windows.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Like, what are you doing? Just
Yeah, I feel that. That's an exact clip. Yeah, how someone had to have been dealing with heat stroke and did that and went, oh, it's a little bit cooler in my house. And then like probably like an hour later, I was like, why does it smell like spoiled milk? And at least I'm cool. At least it's not as like seriously. You would the better way to think of it is it's not an insulation. It'd be like using blackout curtains. So it would prevent, because it's a thicker layer, it would prevent the heat from coming in, but it also trap the heat that's inside the house from going out. So it'd be cooler-ish, like a degree cooler inside than outside, because it'd be preventing the heat from coming in, but you wouldn't be a lot of the heat wouldn't be escaping. So it's not, it's slightly better. By slightly, I mean it's 98 degrees outside and it's 97 in your home. It's only slightly better. Not very much. It's not worth it. Not to mention, again, yeah, that's a lot, especially depending on like the home. A lot of yogurt. Furthermore, scraping that shit off. Oh my god, clean your windows would be this. I guess. Yeah, if it's like 97, 98's where you die. Well, if we keep it 97, we're fine. But if it goes to 98, nope, we're done.
Get an air conditioner, for the love of God. Oh my God. At this point, I'm convinced that air conditioning could prevent World War III if you guys would just do it. No wonder you guys are always starting world wars and dragging us into it. You're all fucking grumpy and hot 24/7. Get some AC and come up with a peace treaty. I don't ever want to hear a European talk shit about America being dumb ever again. They always love to bring up like, oh, America has a bunch of gun violence, blah, 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 blah. Cool. More people are dying because you refuse to use air conditioning than Americans are dying from gun violence, all right? And by a lot. It's not even close. Europe is losing 175,000 people a year. To put that into perspective, America had roughly 60,000 people die in the Vietnam War. How do you not see how insane that is? Air conditioning at this point is like the cheapest, most cost-effective, life-saving technology on the planet, and you're just like, nah, I don't want it. And the most beautiful part about all this is I know for a fact there's going to be a ton of keyboard warriors with a bunch of stupid talking points and smug comments in the comment sections, and this is going to get clipped and put on Twitter and Instagram and all these other places, and it's going to be all these comments, and you know what? None of those comments would be possible without air conditioning, because without air conditioning, the internet that you're using wouldn't function and the phone you're holding in your hand wouldn't have been able to get manufactured. You are proving my point that air conditioning is the most important invention of the 21st century, and if you don't have some, you should get some, and that's all I gotta say about that. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch, maybe drink some Echelon. Links to both of those available over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out.
Guess it was. I swear it was. That might have been just England itself. And that's not all of Europe.
Don't forget to go check out Supremacy World War III, unlock your railgun, and go conquer the British. It's what George Washington would have wanted.
That's probably like why I was looking at was just England, which makes sense. Because it's not all of Europe. It's just certain countries within Europe that really don't like it. Let's see. Do we have any fun? AC is too expensive. The people who buy a TV license. Oh, damn. Last week in Toronto, it hit 106. I pushed one button and was no longer 106 inside. Oh, God. Yeah, here in Greece, almost everyone has AC. Work has AC, bus has AC. First time I heard France and England didn't have AC, I thought it was a joke. The more I investigate, the stupider it seems. Holy cow, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe. Yeah, again, it's not all of Europe. It's just certain countries in Europe. Right here, right there. Right there. Have I watched Julie's new video? No, I have not. I have actually not been watching a lot of AI videos recently just because I've been falling behind and I'm like trying to kind of reinvigorate myself. And I've got a lot of them like in a playlist, and I'll show you here in a second. But yeah, no, there was Nick talking about air conditioning and how people are stupid. I'm